Hi, it's Mark Bernard here with the Bernard Institute for Cybersecurity Excellence. Security knows no boundaries. It's true. Cybersecurity knows no boundaries. Today I'm going to be talking about the Nist Cybersecurity Framework, and I'm going to be talking about the first domain, id.am or identify. Identify has, as you can see, 6 different control areas. So we have asset management, business environment, governance, risk assessment, risk management strategy, supply chain. There's 29 controls. This is an important area. Identify is where basically we scope out the Nist cybersecurity framework and the different areas of the business or organization it's going to touch on and all the assets within that area. There's several other areas. As you know, protect. So once you identify the assets and the business scope, then you need to go ahead and protect those things. So the risk assessment part of the identify process drives the security controls and protect. And then of course you have to monitor your environment to make sure you're not getting hacked or breached so that you can respond to those breaches. And that leads to response. And response is where we make plans on how to protect yourself. And that includes the planning, communications, any sort of a triage or analysis, and mitigation. And then finally, recovery from any type of security incidents that occur. In total, there's 108 control points. Each of these sections I'm going to be covering in the next month or two in detail to help give you some insight and some guidance. Today we're talking about, under identify, we're talking about asset management. And that's the protection of different types of assets. So information, people, hardware, software, technology, and facilities are all in that scope. There's a number of control areas, of course. They call it specifically physical devices, software. Data flow mapping, very important, very difficult to do. External information systems, this is for cloud computing, and any other types of resources. I've underlined a couple keywords here in each of these sentences to kind of get you focused. Data or information personnel are other assets that need to be listed. All assets need to be prioritized based on the classification of information they process, the criticality to the business, and the business value. And of course, cybersecurity roles and responsibilities for full-time, contract, and third parties need to be documented. As we go through the process, we identify with the management system, and this is an important part. You're going to need a management system because if you try to do this in an Excel spreadsheet, it's going to be quite cumbersome, to say the least. So you need to list hardware, software, data flows, external systems, cloud computing in other words, resources, and roles and responsibilities. Here's some examples of what I'm talking about. So under hardware, we're talking about servers, network gear, laptop, cell phone. Environmental systems such as air conditioning or heating systems. You need to manage these assets cradle to grave. You need to take care of the patching or any type of incidents that involve them. You need to also identify the vendors and suppliers. And finally, at the end of the life of the hardware or software, you need to do some type of destruction to ensure that no information is getting lost. Under software, we're not just talking about apps. We're talking about operating systems and the utilities on those. Enterprise systems such as enterprise resource planning systems like SAP or Oracle, COTS, off-the-shelf stuff like Microsoft, custom software, of course, any third-party apps, again, manage them cradle to grave, make sure they're patched, incidents are resolved, and if there are vendors or suppliers, they need to be documented and listed somewhere. And then, of course, end-of-life destruction. Data flows. I said it was not easy. It is not easy, but it's something that needs to be done, especially if you need to comply with privacy legislation. You need to do packet traces or trace point activity. You probably could use information architecture, or you'll end up developing information architecture as part of this process. You need to assess the data flow from point A to point B and all the hops in between. You need to look at data at rest, processing, and collection. If data is being shared, you need to look at the LANs, WANs, and internet. And again, end-of-life destruction. So when you're done with the information, there needs to be a clean way, a permanent way to destroy it. External systems, we're talking about cloud computing. Everything else applies. Software, hardware, information, or data flows also applies to external systems. We're talking about, is it outsourced? You need to manage your part of that process, cradle to grave. You need to make sure these systems are patched, incidents are addressed. You need to list the vendors and suppliers that are providing that hardware for the external systems. You need to do end-of-life destruction. Under resources, again, we're talking about information or data people, and you need to be able to classify your assets based on criticality and the value to the organization. And finally, you need to look at internal and external roles and responsibilities. They need to be documented. That's part of the governance process, roles and responsibilities. You need to look at the competencies to make sure these people are trained and they're good at what they do in order to make sure there's fewer errors or no errors. Risk management is part of that process. You need to also do some screening of employees and background checking. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this brief review of IDAM. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Remember to like and share my materials. I'm looking forward at spreading the word around, and if you have any questions, you have my email address, my website, and my phone number. So you can text or call me or email me. Take care, and God bless you.